Separation can be a difficult experience for children, but parents and carers can provide support and guidance to help them cope. It's important to communicate in a way that is true, helpful, and inspiring amongst what is necessary and kind. This makes the acronym THINK. Here are some examples of how parents and carers can respond to conflicts and support their children. In one example, imagine a grandfather on perhaps the maternal or paternal side is caring for the kids after school and says, "You're ungrateful just like your father, mother," whatever that may be. And the child then resists or struggles with their homework. Now the parent might hear about this. In identifying the problem, of course, there's going to be a defensive reaction. This grandfather may have raised his voice and snapped at the child to start the whole problem off in the first place. And the child may have been distracted, bored, or playing when they refused to comply. Consider the child's thoughts on the matter. The child may feel confused, hurt, or upset by the grandfather's behaviour. Provide supportive explanations to the child in a realistic and kind manner. Explain to the child that the grandfather wants what's best for them, and yes, may not have had the right way to go about this. That may have been a cranky approach. So that you're explaining what's realistic. Explain that the grandfather does love them, as long as that is the case, we would hope, and that even if he doesn't always know how to help, he's trying. That can soothe the child while you're letting them know that you will follow this up. Find a solution that is helpful and inspiring. Encourage the child to ask Pop for help with homework and praise Pop's strength to gain buy-in for the change. Determine what's necessary, of course. You may discuss with the Pop how social expectations have changed in relation to disciplining children and ask how he might have dealt with that just in case the child's explanation wasn't true. We must always remember in separation that children misinterpret things. It's very important to value and appreciate what they've said and also to double check the facts. Explain to the child that they have the right to say no if they don't like being yelled at, and encourage them to keep telling you if it occurs. Because even if someone's insistent that it's not happening, if a child continues to say so, you might need to seek some external help. Be kind. Discuss how kids misinterpret things when you're approaching the grandfather, even if you know this is what's happened. Taking that step-down approach is always going to be much more effective than just charging in, trying to say what's been done wrong. Explain that we need to be careful with our behaviour, especially since kids struggle with separation, and so that the children can understand us. Encourage the child to thank Pop for being helpful when he is, and write prompts on a card for how the child could handle the situation. So, overall, in addition to addressing conflicts, parents and carers can help children cope with separation by focusing on the child's emotional state. Task-oriented activities like brainstorming and planning solutions can be helpful for overthinking. For intense distress, physical coping mechanisms like exercise, deep breathing, and singing can be effective. For sadness or feeling down, social support and temporary distractions, emphasising temporary, like TV, or writing a letter could be appropriate. Doing a painting. Notice how these different states have different kinds of solutions. Remember to communicate with your child in a curious, not a critical way, asking questions instead of assuming, being careful not to crush their feelings. A child identifies with themselves as being half of their mother and half of their father. So by letting them overhear things about the other person, it can really crush part of who they believe they are. So connecting with these childs before correcting their behaviour is the way to go. Creating a chart can help children identify and work through emotional states. Google's always there to help you in that sense. And if things don't make a lot of sense, see a professional. So dealing with difficult situations we know is overwhelming for children, and even if they're not showing it, we know that it does affect them all. They do have amazing resilience and are quick to adapt, so long as we're supporting them along the way. So it's important that parents and caregivers understand how to support them. One way to approach this is by identifying and working through 3 overall emotional states. Let's go a bit deeper now with the overthinking, intense distress, not just stress, distress, and sadness or feeling down. In the first state of overthinking, it's characterised by worrying, ruminating on a problem. To help a child overcome this state, even when they might not want to talk to you about it, parents and carers can encourage them to engage in task-oriented activities of solution, like brainstorming, planning, and implementing those solutions in different ways. If they're struggling to talk with you about it, it might be about encouraging them to see the school counsellor or some other identified appropriate support that you can help them link in with, not just another friend who might be overburdened by such a distress that they don't know how to deal with. Mediation and relaxation techniques can also be helpful in calming the mind and reducing stress, though it is important to help a child find a solution. The second state, intense distress, is characterised by strong emotions that may have a physical manifestation, such as it being really common that even when a child loves both homes, there may be times when they act out not wanting to leave in transition to go to the other place. Children experiencing intense distress may benefit from coping strategies like exercise, deep breathing, singing, and establishing a good routine and healthy eating habits and sleep. These kids, if they're distressed about a transition, it might not be because of the transition. It could have been for so many other things were happening before at school or in their mind, and then they're just settled with what they're doing, and it happens to coincide with the transition. Yet the parents can never be fully aware of what's in the child's mind. The parents and caregivers in this situation could also provide social support and temporary distractions like that TV watching, finding a friend they can talk to, helping them write a letter, do a painting, some way of managing these emotions. The third state, feeling sad or down, could be oversleeping, disengaging, and it could be distracting themselves in their room, playing with things in a slow, methodical manner. It can be a result of difficult situations and might require a different approach. Parents and caregivers can help by providing emotional support and empathic understanding. That's listening without judgment and reflecting that listening, like saying, "So is what you're telling me X, Y, Z?" That's the only way someone really feels heard, if we can reflect it back to them. And then that offers validation and reassurance. It's really important for kids. Often children will ask a question like, "Why don't mum and daddy love each other anymore?" They're not really necessarily looking for an answer that's not appropriate for them. They're looking for reassurance. So you can say something like, "Things are as best as they can be at the moment, and we'd love it to try and be the best as it can be for you." Encouraging children to express their feelings through writing, drawing, or talking can also be beneficial. Not only might they not know the words of how to describe what's going on, they could also feel unsafe if they're frustrated with you because you made them eat their vegetables, for example. So giving them the coping skills to bolster that amazing resilience that children already have in situations like these isn't always about any kind of blame game, but just supporting the normal ups and downs that every child goes through. It's important to note that each child is unique, and what works for one may not work for the other. Additionally, parents and caregivers should be aware of the potential problems that might arise if coping strategies are taken too far. Overuse of sublimination techniques like avoidance, denial, repression, or not caring and apathy will usually always lead to negative outcomes. It's okay to take some time out to express an emotion and to put it off until an appropriate time. It's essential to balance physiological and solution-focused coping strategies to ensure the children are receiving the support they need. When communicating with children about difficult situations, it's important to be curious rather than critical. This means asking open-ended questions, not "did you do this?" but "oh, I'm curious what happened there," and allowing children to express themselves without any judgment. They may use the wrong words, they may say something that's not quite true because they don't quite remember it properly, or they're worried about how they say it, so it doesn't come out right because they haven't learnt that vocabulary yet. Rather than assuming we know what the child is feeling or even what they're saying, we can ask them to share their perspective, to clarify, ask their feelings and what they need. Parents and caregivers should always be careful not to crush a child's emotions. It's essential to validate their feelings and offer support without minimising or dismissing their experience. Even relating back to the example of that Pop. If a child said, "Oh, I love Pop and I miss him," then it would be tempting for many a parent to say, "Oh, you don't miss that." We do need to be careful of this. It can really crush their spirit. And then it will make it hard for them to open up about other things for you. We can connect with children before correcting them, creating a safe and supportive environment that encourages them to share their emotions openly. Such as in this case, we could say, "That's beautiful, and your whole family loves you too, and we all want what's best for you. So make sure you're letting us know, little one, if there's anything we can do for you." Overall, helping children cope with difficult situations does require working on empathy. It's not a simple skill. Active listening and a willingness to adapt to each child's unique needs. By using the strategies briefly outlined here, parents and caregivers can provide the support and guidance necessary to help children thrive even in challenging circumstances. Here are a few simple and supportive phrases that parents can use to calm children and ex-partners while staying child-focused and empowering them to express emotions, to self-soothe, and to seek solutions, hopefully all simultaneously. The first one: "I can see you're feeling upset right now. Would you like to talk about what's going on?" Notice how the tone is really important. "I can see you're feeling upset right now. Would you like to talk about what's going on?" Really is not going to help anyone. "I can see that you're feeling upset right now." It's creating a space for them and it's expressing the empathy. "Would you like to talk about what's going on?" Offering that solution focus. The next one: "It's okay to feel angry, sad, frustrated." Insert the emotion that you think is going on. And you can even say to the child, "Is that right? Am I seeing what you're feeling?" So it's saying, it's okay to have this emotion now. Let's take some deep breaths together and think about what we can do to make things better. So that we're role modelling that process, taking some time out, stepping back, and exploring possibilities. The next: "I hear what you're saying, and I want to understand how you're feeling. Can you tell me more about that?" It opens the door to the child to allow them to say and explore whatever they need. The next: "You're not alone in this. We're all here to support you and help you find a solution that works for everyone." Again, showing no judgment and opening up the opportunities. "I know this is hard, but we'll get through it together. Let's focus on what we can control and find ways to make it better." You see there's a lot of similarity between these, and that's because I encourage you to listen to this recording every now and then when you need a reminder, so that you can find new phrases that resonate for you. You can make up your own, and if you use any one of these phrases for a few weeks with the kids, they're going to react against it, roll their eyes. We need to keep shifting and looking at the underlying meaning of what's in these suggestions. There's not just going to be one approach for any child. The next: "It's important to express how you feel, but we also need to think about how we can work together to find a solution. Let me know when you're ready to do that. I'll come back soon." So that we're encouraging that child and opening up again. And the next: "I'm here for you, no matter what. We'll figure this out and make sure that everyone's safe and happy in the end." The next: "Let's take a break and do something you enjoy, like drawing or playing a game. Then we can come back to this with a fresh perspective." You see, these phrases aren't necessarily easily flowing from the mouth. It might be best to write some of these up on the fridge and come back to this recording when you need to rewrite them or find a new one. The next: "It's okay to ask for help. We can talk to the counsellor at school maybe, or some kind of mediator to help us work through this. Would you like to do that sometime? Let me know." Letting them know on the circumstance, if it's required, that we can call in other supports. And then, remember we love you and we want what's best for you. Let's work together to find a solution that works for everyone. Have you got any ideas? Or do you think there's anyone we could ask? There's many more solutions. As you can see, these ones are all trying to allow them to express emotions, to encourage the self-soothing, and then to come back to seek solutions. These reflect the primary coping strategy styles of people: to problem solve, to allow the emotions, and to self-soothe and distract. All of these things are perfectly fine in balance. All the best with your kids, and listen to this again whenever you need a little booster on how to cope with these struggles.